Right, good evening everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good day, wherever you happen to be. Let's see. Everybody's been having a chat there today. Leona, so as your brain doesn't get frazzled today, I'm on a different lathe again, alright? I'm on my big one now. So, was that a train going past, Jay?
No, it's not me.
No, I got that.
Oh, hell of a noise. There was a bit of a noise.
The Temple boys just come in.
Yeah, good afternoon all. Good evening all. I won't go through individually. I'll let Jay go through that in a minute. Now tonight what we're doing is turning a 1.8 metre post. It's only 70 by 70. Why don't I just change the camera over? From down that end there, back to here. The post is actually 1800 long. And for Fiona and everybody else that hasn't seen this, my lathe actually extends right down through here. I've got to keep an eye that I'm not going too fast. Right down to that back wall down there. It's 40 feet long. So, just my little one. Right, swing this back here again now. Put this back up on here where I want it. And as usual, folks, if you have a question, put a row of question marks in or put question. So that our earwigs in the background there, Jay and Sid, I'll just bring them up for a minute so you can see their faces.
Oh,
Don't dive shock first. Jay's moved himself out. Yeah, there he is. Rightio, good. Right, now, with this one, I'm fairly lucky. They've given me an actual scale drawing. This one here, as well as pictures of what it actually looks like. Turn it around the right way, Robbo, and we'll be right. Like that. That's the bottom of the post. And I've got another one here that shows the overall of the post. So that,
Darren's got a question.
So to at least have an idea of what it completely looks like. Yeah, I'm just getting onto that, Darren. Now this is Oregon, which I must admit I hate turning because the Oregon of late is absolutely terrible. It's got a very open grain in it, this lot, as you can see there. And in fact, the centre line falls right on a hard point there. So naturally the centre slips off the side. Now I've centred this one, but I haven't centred it into the centres yet properly, which I'll do in a minute. Just to refresh your memory from the chair lead that we did a couple of weeks ago, how we do that. Now, I've already set up the calipers for most of the measurements. Normally I would guess most of these measurements. Now, if you get a drawing like this that's got all the measurements on it, you can mark it out right from here and mark it back. But an easier way to do it is to get the plan or the drawing and fold it in half and sit it on the datum line at the base there, like so, and get a pencil and just mark where all the details are. There, 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 and it comes in off the square here. Then we just get a square the lines across. Now in marking out, I always use just a HB pencil. I don't use carpenter's pencils because it's too easy to turn them sideways and put a heavier line in than you actually need. And I set my drawing up behind it so that I can see what the actual shape of it is. Then I centre the post. And just to refresh your memory of how we do that. Get our skew chisel and come into the waist part that you're turning off. Pinch the chisel between your thumb and your forefinger, like so, and rotate the post until you hit the high spots.
So
we've got
Yappy's come in.
G'day, Yappy. So that's a miss. That's a miss. That's a hit. And that's a hit. So it's got to go down this way. Now, remember that I said you don't, excuse me, you don't loosen the tailstock back and then move it in the hole. You knock it down and just tighten the tailstock a fraction. Otherwise, it just goes back into the same hole again. What you're trying to do is slice through these heavy bits of grain here so that it stays there. This is applicable mainly on softwoods, Oregon, and your pine and all that sort of thing. And you check it again.
And also Blake, Yappy's son, has come in too.
Oh, good day, Blake. How are you? Now, this is a machine post, so it's perfectly square. And I always do it up where I'm starting the turning from. So our turning starts up here. You make sure it's square there. You don't worry about the end, because if it's got a slight curve in it, it will you'll end up with an uneven bit coming in here. Right, that one's fairly right. Just do the other end now. Right, it's fairly good too. Now, they have been known to move when you tighten up the tailstocks, etc. Right, let's have a look and see what it looks like. Yeah, it's spinning pretty true. Okay. Switch you back onto the overhead camera again. Bring our marks up. Now clean off the tool rest from the previous job. We just use ordinary general purpose thinners. Oh yes, feeling no pain now.
Steve Templeboy has a question for you, Robbo.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Are you going to use your bowl roughing skew?
They are two totally different tools, Steve. One is a spindle roughing gouge. Note the word spindle. The other one is a bowl gouge. Totally different shapes, totally different tools. And the answer, am I using a bowl gouge? No. Am I using a spindle roughing gouge? Yes. Right, now we get our white marker again. We mark.
Come in.
Sorry.
Neil has just come in.
Oh, good day, Neil. Now, using our white marker, just turn the post over that way so the marks are nearly on the tool rest. And unlike last week where I turned the leg first and then made it off the master, g'day Pat, I do it before I even start turning. So the first one at least lines up. That's the thing. Now what I do is I put a little arrow on this one because that's the start of the turning. And I start from the left hand side and work across to the right, because if you start with the right hand one and then come back to this one, you smudge that one. Oh, you can't see it, well. So you work away from it. It's like painting a room. You don't paint yourself into a corner. Well, hopefully. Now I always allow about 20 mil on the end of a post for waste so that I can get it down to there and then cut it off. G'day Stace, how are you?
Charlotte.
Right.
Robbo.
G'day Charlotte. Okay. Now I've got my drawing up behind me here where I can see it. Put my safety glasses on. And we rough it down to a cylinder first. Using a spindle roughing gouge. Okay. Steve? I'll jack that up. I'll take it up one more notch in speed. Softer wood likes to be cut fast. Generally, that's better. Now remember last week I said I don't come right up to here with the roughing gouge. I come away from it a bit. Some people nick that with the skew chisel. I just turn it. All right, start marking it out with a skew chisel. So they'll know where my marks are. Get rid of a bit of waste down this end here. Give yourself room to move. Just bring this corner in. I'm not worried too much about down here because all that's going out of the way. It's where the ball and everything is in the drawing that I've got to worry about. Got a nice little curve into there. Right. Now, where are we? That's our ball there. That's the thing there. Right. Now we've got 25 mil. It actually comes in here. That's better. Right. Long point down. Bring that edge in nice and tight. Put our second mark in. Now, we set our calipers. Normally I would do this before I started, but just have a cup of tea for a second, why not? Now, change cameras again. Sorry, I haven't got enough cameras around this one for this job. Come on. Now, as I said, I get a Ray-Ban ruler like that. Now, I've set the first one, which is 60 millimetres and 50 millimetres, and I put them in the order that I come down the post at. So this one's 60 millimetres, 50 millimetres, sorry. And that's 65, which is the next one down. So using a parting tool, I'll take them down to size. I'll tell you what, it's much easier to turn it than it is to talk about turning it.
Darren has a question, Robbo.
Yeah.
He wants to know, is this for a paying production turning job?
Yes, they are. Right. So this is our 60 mil one here. Now, whenever you're using calipers, as I said last week, make sure that they're rounded off on the points here, not sharp. The other thing to ensure is that your parting tool is wider than what the calipers are. We had a case in the club a few years ago where they had to part something off or part it down to size, and I'm standing at the other end of the room watching it, and the calipers are just, they're sitting on the top. They're not going anywhere, and I can see him moving the handle of the parting tool in. It took me about 5 seconds or 10 seconds to realise that his parting tool was too narrow. So I was about to say, stop! Next minute, he had 2 lumps of timber flying out of the load. So always make sure that it's wider than what the calipers are. Now, I always use calipers held like that, either between those 2 fingers or that finger there. 2 reasons. This little nut here has a bad habit of coming undone with vibration. And in fact, we normally put silicone or something on them to stop them from coming undone. But the other reason is that if they flick out of the lathe, you're more likely to get hit with this side here than that one there, because when you're using the bigger calipers, like this little set here, if they'd occasionally jam. In fact, you can see how this leg here has been bent because it gets caught on the grain occasionally. So Neil, I like your comment. Right. Yeah, it's funny how that can happen, Pete, that you get an idea in your head and suddenly you can't shift it on the out of your hands. Right, now next one is 50 mil down. Right. Now we've got to get this down into there in a nice tight little angle. I'll use a gouge for that, I think. Just a spindle gouge.
Darren has another question.
Yep.
Do we call him Neil 2-bit?
Sorry?
He wants to know if we call him Neil 2-bit.
Right, that comes in underneath there. This gets taken into here a little bit, nice and tight. Now we've got to take the next bit down to a ball, and it's 45 mil. Now, I just mark the principal diameters. I don't mark the other things. Like this cut here has to be 45 mil down. I know that that's 50 mil there, so all I got to do is come in 5 mil underneath that, and I know that I'll be right. And like I said last week, most people can guess 5 mil or so.
Antonio has come into the room.
G'day, Antonio. Right, we'll get rid of this bit here. Nice and tight. Nice and tight. Chamfer this back edge here as per the drawing. Like so. Now the ball is 45 mil on this side here as well, so we come in. So all I've got to do is line up with that. Now to make sure I get square sides, I move the skew chisel around so that this bevel is at right angles to the timber, and we'll cut a straight line. The bevel will always guide it where it's got to go.
James Pritchard has just come in.
G'day James, how are you? Now we form our ball. Now if you look at a hemisphere or a sphere, it is nearly always flat at any of the axis points. So when you're doing a ball, always come just a fraction off centre. Right, now we round over this bit here. Clean out the base of the cut, just using the long point. Now it's just a matter of getting rid of the waste. Trim the end down a bit to about 20 mil or so. And using the spindle roughing gouge to take the waste out of the way.
Bravo.
Yep.
Darren has a question.
I'll show you in a minute, Darren, when I take this one out, all right? All right. I didn't mention your name, Neil. You put yourself in. Now take this down to about 20 millimeters here, because it doesn't come to a perfect point. It actually comes into a little round section. Just straighten it out a bit. Right. Using the skew chisel, clean it up.
I'm not sure if Steve had a question or a statement, so I'm not going to bother saying it.
Why, what did he put down? I think Steve needs to talk to a therapist.
I heard the therapist didn't come out of that too well.
Right, now we'll just turn that around there. We won't cut it off because we've got to do the other end yet. So I'll sand that up. Now this is being painted. So 120 grit sandpaper. Now we use Hermes sandpaper. It's cloth backed, and the main reason is because it holds the grit down the edge here if we need sharp edges on it. We don't take the tool rests out of the way, although as I said last week, if you are a beginner or a learner and you feel more comfortable doing it, then by all means do it. We can't afford the time to move tool rests around all the time.
Antonio has a question, Robbo. Just what size is your skew chisel?
1 inch. Or 25.4 if you want to get technical. Okay, that's this end done. Now we've got to mark out the other end. Now this lathe is switched at both ends for obvious reasons. You wouldn't want to walk past something like this if it decided to fly out. So right, now switch cameras. Never the right camera when you want it. Now I've already put in the datum line down here. I tend to leave more waste up the headstock end if I've got a lot of overhang, because this is the headstock is the strongest part of the lathe. So you can get away with going down thinner at this end rather than that end and having a lot of waste just hanging off the end. Oh, yeah, all right then, Darren, no problems. That's fine. Now, this is going to be a little bit of guesswork here because he hasn't given me any other dimensions except that it's 110 mil long. And then it's 45 mil across the centre there. So this could be a bit freehand. Getting my tape measure, pencil, square. Now 110. Now the ball's 65 mil, so come up 65, but it doesn't leave, in my opinion, it doesn't leave enough for the cove in there. and the bead at the top of it. Hasn't got any other drawings in there. So I just cover up that address and everything here. To me that doesn't look right. It looks like there's a little cap on the end of the ball there to me anyway. All right, well, I'll wing it.
Nick's in.
Sorry?
Nick is in.
Oh, good day, Nick. Doesn't gel. It's not looking right at all. I'll just check the measurement again. It's 110. He's got 110. I've got a funny feeling. Let's just see. That's 125. Yeah, I think it's 210. I think it should be 210. That would... Sorry, I'm half muttering to myself, but you can probably get an idea of how my brain works. That this part down the bottom here just does not look right. There's no way I can get a bead and a cove in there, the width that they're looking compared to the ball. So 70, 30. What I'm doing is actually, just to give you an idea, I'm measuring the ball, right? That's 65 across, which is actually 90 in this photo here. So it's about 1/3 bigger. If I measure up to there, that's 160 up to there. I don't think this part's right. I think the measurements are out here. So what I'm going to do is leave this at the moment, and I'll do the top of the next post, and give him a call tomorrow to find it, just to get him to measure this here again, because I don't want to muck it up on him. There's 20. Oh, wait on. There is some writing there. 20 wide. No, still doesn't come in right. Okay, so I'll give this one a miss, and I'll put the next one in. Just chat amongst yourselves for a couple of minutes. Better to be safe than sorry.
Especially when you're getting paid for it, Robbo.
Sorry?
Especially when you're getting paid for it.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, I reckon it should be about 130 to 150 long.
Did you see Darren's question there, Robbo?
Yeah, I'm just about to answer it. Yeah, that could well be. Like, it's definitely... It's not on this picture, but I don't know where he took the picture from. But on the one of it fixed to the house, it definitely has a little bit of a nipple on the bottom of it. I'll move it up to the camera a bit so you can see it. And I reckon that that he's mismeasured it or something. So better to be safe than sorry. So I'll whip this one out and put the next one in. I can put this one back in again tomorrow. That's the advantage of real turning.
I think Steve's crying for a bit of attention there.
Right, just sit it into the centre there. Walk my way up the post while I hold it in there. And as I said, free to rotate between points. Now I'll just measure in the thing here.
Hey, Robbo,
Oh yeah.
you have to say it like in a really demanding voice. Tell Nick to wake up.
Wake up! Nobody goes to sleep on my watch.
No, Steve's got one thing right. It's not a nipple, it's a nubbity nub. I've heard that phrase used quite a bit lately.
Oh, sorry, I'm listening to the BGs. It's on in the background. I do apologise for that. Do you want me to turn it off?
No, you're right.
No, let it go.
Nick said he's
Now,
away.
just check my measurements again. I did 1710.
Nick goes, what? I'm awake.
Right, 1730. Man, I hate doing that to a tape measure. Right, square off our line here. Now our start line is here.
Hey, Stace. I've had plenty of his music playing in the background in my lives and haven't had any of them canned, so should be all right.
Oh, actually, yeah, I can do that too. I can put on rock and roll if you want me to. Or I can put on opera, which is what I really like.
I can't hear it, to be honest.
Right. Now, again, centre the post inside the waist area here. Oh, I love it when a plan comes together. God, it doesn't happen very often, but this one's nearly perfect. Right. Now, just to make absolutely sure that the measurements do come in right, that's the advantage of these tool rests, actually. They can be slid up and down. So, if I can find my Allen key, so that I can get it on the exact line if it just happens to move a little bit, because some of the patterns on the end, some of the timber on the end is not cut square.
Amy's just come in. Hello, Amy.
G'day, Amy. Okay, now I'll lay this other one in behind here so that I can see where I'm going. It's a bit difficult because I've got computer set up behind me and I've got wires going everywhere. If I suddenly disappear, you know that the timber has caught the microphone wire or my headset wire and drag me through the lathe, all right? Just check the measurements here, make sure they're right, and it's not. Measure twice, cut once, I say. Okay. Now, I always check the tailstock after it's been running for a minute. I've got to switch it off at the other end. The reason for that is that you've got your drives for like this with your timber sitting stationary. The drives first starts up and just nicks the timber a little bit and bite in a bit further. So always make sure that you tighten your tailstock and keep an eye on it the whole time. Yeah, I know, Darren. I've got one on order. Oh, I know a few people who have tried that, Nick, sleeping behind the wheel. Doesn't work. Okay. Right, using the spindle roughing gouge once more. Take it down around. Now, there's a bit of a problem with this. This post is 70 by 70, and they want one of the round parts 70 mil. You just can't do it. So you have to make everything sort of blend in with everything. Just take this out of here. Smooth it back to here. Long point down. Take off this corner here. Right, first mark in. Now that's just 60 mil there, yeah, 50 mil down here. So what you got to remember with measurements is that you're taking it off both sides. So you've got to be careful that you don't, if it's 60 here and 50 here, don't take a 10 mil cut in there because you end up with 40 instead. Get rid of a little bit of waste out of here. Now, I use a parting tool. If I want a smooth corner, sometimes I just use the parting tool like a skew chisel to come up into that corner. I'm actually only cutting just on this much of the parting tool. what I'll do is I'll show it here. It is nearly impossible to get a skew chisel right up into this corner here because the corner there gets in the way. So a little parting tool sometimes can get in where the skew chisel can't. Little bit of a chamfer in here, like so. Now we have to go down 10 mil under that. So there. There. Bring it down to about the same depth. Take this one out of here. Now, if you're coming in on a corner like that with a skew chisel, you can put the chisel right back here, and the cut in here will be rubbing on the back of the blade here to give you bevel support until you get the bevel actually into the cut. Right. Form our ball. Just clean up the corner here a bit with a short point so it's tight and tidy. Round this one over here. Down into the valley, same thing, just clean it out, follow the curve around with the bevel on the left-hand side. Now the right-hand side. Put our end in here. Do a peeling cut to get rid of the waste. Get our spindle roughing gouge again. Now you'll notice that using it that aggressively it leaves lines down it. So all you do is just roll over to the side to get a smoother cut later and slow the traverse down.
$31 in, Robbo.
Ah, that's good. Thank you everybody, even the tree people. Bring this down to 20 mil here, round about. Give ourselves a bit of clearance here.
So Steve's put a good comment in, Robbo. The thing I love about demonstration production turners is they use whatever tool they know will get the job done. They don't get stuck on the you should use this, that and the other.
That's right. Look, funnily enough, I use 3 tools for most of my work around here. And it just happens to be the one I have in my hand that will do the job. Right, now, just a final cut down here now. Just to smooth it out. Now, Darren, you asked about the finish on this. Right, round the point over, into there. Just reduce the diameter a fraction. Now, you want to have a look at it with it switched off. It's a little bit rough up here. I'll fix that in a second. and up in here. This is the problem with this Oregon. It is just absolute garbage timber to turn. So I'll get this done right down in here first. Have to use the edge of a gouge just to get in there, just to decrease that a little bit in there. Oregon splinters like hell. And we'll just fix this bit up here as well. Right. That's the finish straight off the chisel. Now that's the roughing gouge part there. This is where the skew's been over the side of it. Okay, I'll sand this one off. If I can find the sandpaper, that is. That's the trouble, you get so many shavings that you lose things. Yeah, that's your statement's quite true to one thing, Peter, about just using the tool in your hand. But sometimes, like I could have done this whole part here with the skew chisel, but with that much waste to get out of the way, you're better off just grabbing the spindle roughing gouge and taking it out. Now, if I had about 15 or 20 of these to do, I'd have the mark here for where it started to go down, and I'd take that out with the roughing gouge down to the size of the tailstock there, while I had it in my hand while I was roughing it down, and I wouldn't worry about it. Well, treated pine or merbau, Michael, or quilla, depending on where you're educated. Rightio. Who's got me? Who's got my sandpaper?
Yeah, I have, Robbo. You're not getting it back either.
No, that'll be right.
It's behind you.
Yeah, I've been waiting for that. It's easy to tell who went to pantomimes as kids, isn't it? Where's the wolf? Where's the wolf? It's behind you. Oh, is it over here? No, it's behind you.
Steve reckons Nick's got it.
Nick? Yeah, well, Nick's a sandpaper king, I know.
Barry said, look behind your ear.
Yeah. No, I don't put it. Funnily enough, I don't put anything behind my ear for the simple reason it just doesn't stay there. I've never been able to carry a pencil behind my ear or anything. So and I can't carry timber on my shoulder, it just falls off.
Nick said he doesn't have it honest. He doesn't do sanding.
Nick speak with forked tongue.
I think so. You might even tell a lie or two.
Steve reckoned it was in your beard.
Okay. The turning is the easy part. It's all the setting up and everything that goes into it that takes the time. Like to set the lathe up to do this took me about 20 minutes because I had to break it down from where I was doing 3 metre posts earlier on this week or last week. Okay, voila, all done. Beautiful. All right, I shall leave that in the lathe. Just do a final inspection. This is the other problem with Oregon, it chips out like nothing on earth. Right, let's see if it looks like the drawing now. That's always a good point. Looks pretty damn close, I reckon. When it's 20 feet in the air.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, that's... I had a lathe like that too, Pete, where the sandpaper used to drop off the back. And God, it was a mongrel of a thing. It's even worse when it... it's even worse when it drops down the dust extractors and rattles through the system because sandpaper generally gets tangled up in the fan and you've got to dismantle a bloody thing to get it out so it doesn't shake itself apart.
Did you find the sandpaper yet?
Sorry, what's that? Now, I normally I put the sandpaper down there where I put it this time.
Put your microphone closer to your mouth, Robbo. We can't hear you.
Oh, right. No, that's a good idea for most people, Fiona. But the problem is, we get strings of shavings and it just blocks it off. I used to have one. I had to take it actually off the dust extractor as well for the same reason because I was forever pulling the hose off to get it cleaned out so as it keeps sucking. Jeez, it's funny how the camera distorts that. That looks like an oval rather than a little ball in the camera anyway. The other problem with Oregon is sap. This has got a sap vein in it and it's put a string of sap all the way down the lathe.
What do you use to clean sap off,
Find the
Robbo?
sandpaper, you can.
Sorry, everybody's talking at once. Just wait. Right, Sid.
What do you use to clean the sap off of your bed?
Thinners. Because if I can't get it off, at least I'm feeling good, you know. All right, any more questions? Oh, I'm not. Oh, no, you've never seen me really angry, Leona. I tell you, you don't want to. Yeah, I know. That's the problem. It looks like it's concave in the thing. In fact, it's nearly dead straight. But that's an optical illusion too. That you've got to be careful of doing things like this. That if they're going to be up in a building, it is actually this one is drawn straight, and I would not normally have done it straight. But it should have a slight curve to it outwards like this, so that when you look at it from underneath, it looks like it's straight taper straight up.
See,
Can you
Leona's
see
comment?
question?
Yeah, I can see Yarpy's comment.
It's a question.
What you do is you get it on that side there and you squeeze it, Yarpy, and flatten it out on the sides.
See you, Blake.
See you later, Blake. Bedtime, is it? Sorry, Leona. Actually, the Parthenon is my favourite bit of Greek architecture, and I think most of you know I had to do some Corinthian columns a little while ago, and I studied it meticulously to find out how they did the columns in it, and it's all mathematical formulas. It was very, very interesting. Not that I enjoy mathematics, but the way they worked out the radius of all the flutes up the Corinthian columns and all that sort of thing. There's a direct ratio between everything. Geez, that's another quick one. I've got to learn to slow down.
Well, what else have you got to chuck on the lathe then?
I haven't got anything to whack on this one because this is a one-off, and then I'd have to move all my cameras for everything else, and the computers and everything, and that takes about half an hour. So
Blake's leaving.
Yeah, I said goodbye, good route to him. Now, next week, ladies and gentlemen, I'm doing sharpening, and I know that is going to take at least 3 weeks. Over 3 weeks, probably a couple of hours each, because normally I do it for an all-day demonstration, and but I want to know whether I'll put it up on the Facebook as a question, whether you want to see right from the beginning, like selecting the grinders or anything else, and up to actually just sharpening the tools and the reasons that we put certain shapes on the ends of tools and things like that. So if you have any ideas, whack them in Facebook so that I can get an idea how to plan it, and we'll lay it all out.
Did you see what Nick said?
What Nick said.
Do a sanding demo.
Oh, I just there's a bloke on that does a lunchtime live that he's an expert at sanding. I quite often watch him.
No, don't go and watch him.
Darren had a question there, Robbo. How do you stop the tail stop centre from moving in the end grain?
What, actually digging itself in? G'day, Rob. Late as usual. You missed it all.
See you, Steve.
See you, Steve. Thanks for coming.
Which Steve?
Temple
Boys. Oh, yeah.
Silly
All right. Yeah, no, it comes up quicker on yours than it does on mine. Yeah. See you later, Steve. Thanks for annoying me. I don't mind really.
Yeah, Nick said he wouldn't watch him either because he takes too long.
Yeah, well, I was going to say something, but I won't about that.
No,
I
just
actually,
mean that.
I actually go and put the kettle on, go and have a shower, and you know, come back and just about done. All right. See you later, Leona. Thanks for coming in.
See you, Leona.
And you too, Antonio.
Robocop, you'll have to watch it back afterwards.
That's a bummer that I couldn't finish that off because of that. I just don't want to go ahead and stuff it up. That's the whole thing, because the customers supply the timber to me, and well, you get very annoyed if they've got to go and get another piece, because they never give you a spare piece.
Darren's followed up with his question there, Robbo. It's with the point moving in the end grain, so I'm guessing he means moving off centre.
Oh, right on. Yeah. No, once it's in, like we use revolving cup centres. I don't know why most people use a cone centre, because all it does is come loose all the time. It just drives itself into the timber. And yes, then you can get a case where it does move off centre because it's following the grain down, which is no good for spindle turning. So in all spindle work, I always use a revolving cup centre or revolving ring centre, so that it locks it in on the ring and it can't move once it's in there. Plus, you don't have to tighten it as much either. Yeah, well, see you later, Michael. Thank you for coming in. Yeah, dead right, Darren. No profit if you've got to replace it. Yeah, always, look, on all spindle work, and even if you're doing bowls between centres, use a revolving cup centre instead of a cone centre, because all cones want to do is either, particularly on thin stuff, they will split the timber and they just keep driving themselves in all the time. You're forever tightening up tailstocks, which you should be doing anyway, but it reaches a point with a cup centre that won't go any further. But the other thing that the only thing I use cone centres for is if I've got holes like in lamps or pepper mills or anything like that. Then I use it to centre on the hole, because nothing looks worse than a hole that's off centre. And no dirty comments, thank you.
Pat's asked about steb centres.
Yes, steb centres are good. I must admit, I've never worried about a steb. I use steb centres in the drives, except on the bigger lathes. But I've got the three sides of that: the 3/8, the 7/8, and the inch. But I've never bothered with the tailstock centres, because the ones from Woodfast are very, very good actually for doing that. The best advantage probably for the steb centres is the fact that for off-centre turning and things like that. When did I last sweep the shop's floor? 2 weeks ago. But this is nothing compared with what it looks like up the other end of the workshop, I tell you. You sure on Peter? You sure that you can't adjust the point out a little bit? All right, wait on. I'll just take the headset off and I'll go and get one. All right.
Pete, the cup centre, I've got a little Allen key through the side, and you can move the point in and out.
Yeah, that's normal with a lot of them. I was just wondering if the Axminster, we don't get Axminster out here, but we'd have similar, I would say, and they should be adjustable. So.
That's a bit painful, Pete.
Okay. This is a step set. Wait on, I'll just zoom this in a bit. Now this camera's likely to wriggle for a minute.
Your microphone, Robbo.
This is a true step setter.
We can't hear you.
Put your headphone on, you idiot. Yeah, those are for doing lamps, Rob, that sort of thing. Okay, now this is a true Sorby step centre. Wait on, get it in the camera. It's easily told by this centre part here.
Up higher, Robbo. Higher.
It's
higher. No, too close. Go back. You've got your fingernails in the shot.
Yeah, well, what do you expect? They're long. Right, now, that's the indication that it's a true Sorby step centre. They normally have this centre section cut out. The other indicator is that it's a true one, is that these are double cut. These teeth on it, wait on, where are we? It's hard. These teeth here are double cut. They have a cut up there, they're helically cut. Whereas a lot of the knockoffs are just sharpened on one side and one side is flat. They're sharpened on the flat side is on the drive side, so when it goes that way. Now, the main difference with them, Darren, is the fact that this point is, wait on, I have to just get something that I can get in there. Hammer handle will do. This point is spring loaded. Retracts in, so it doesn't need a very deep hole for it to centre before the teeth come in. It's very handy if you're like me. Yeah, oh yeah, and very sharp too. So, do you want me to zoom out or zoom in, Nick?
Out a little bit, I think, Robbo.
Like I said, this.
Yep, that looks better.
Right, okay. So this end is spring loaded. Most of them have a rigid pin in there. It's very handy when you're chucking stuff in and out of the lathe. Now, until I had step centers, of course, I had to do that with normal spur drives, but you had to make sure that the spur drives, yeah, I know, yeah. I used to use normal spur drives, but with normal spur drives, you've got to make sure that the spurs are sharp. If they've got a little hook on the end of them, they will grab the timber and hold it in. And all you do is burn your hands when you go to do it. Yarpy, it doesn't matter if you've got a normal spur drive. These, in my opinion, are just the ultimate drives. They're good for teaching beginners with, because if they get a bad catch, 9 times out of 10 they will spin rather than keep driving like a normal spur drive will. But I don't recommend using these if you do bowls between centres, because there's not enough gap between the end of the teeth and the base down there, and they will spin in wet timber. G'day, Guy. How are you? How is it in sunny Queensland at the moment? Now, does that answer your questions on the step centre, Darren? Yeah, and the tailstock is exactly the same. Another reason I don't use the steps tailstock centres is that they're too long. They're nearly twice the length of a normal revolving centre. Yeah, that's right, Peter. They're just, but as I said, even with normal spur drives, I've never bothered switching the lathe off to change over legs. Like I'll just slip them in and out of the lathe up to about 900 long, but after that, no, I'm not that much of a hero. I switch the lathe off and change them over. The posts I'm talking about. You won't go far wrong, Nick, if you get a step centre. They are really, really good. Yeah, see you later, Darren.
See you, Darren.
Yeah, I must admit I've never tried it on a 30-foot long post. I'm definitely not that much of a hero, I tell you. We have had one come out, and we had a customer in the doorway at the time, and I told her to stay well back because I just started it up, and I knew it was a little bit whippy, but it actually whipped that much that it sprang out of the centres because I didn't have centres in it. I couldn't get centres in it until I got it round. And anyway, it hopped, and the fella I'd working for me at the time, he was the same age as me. We were both in our 60s. We were at the doorway before it just about hit the ground, and she said, "God, you two old farts can move well, can't you?" I said, fear is a good motivator.
Self-preservation.
That's it. Very high on my list. Yeah, it probably will help her a lot. But the other thing is too, I'd get rid of the cone centre and use a proper cup centre in it for doing spindle work. Geez, how do you get her to do your spindle work for you? You're lazy. Yeah, dead true, Darren. You need to pick your battles. Well, actually, it's another 2 hours before before Steve even comes on because daylight savings has stuffed us up.
Yeah, it's getting to be a late one now with the lunchtime lives there. It's sort of getting on the tail end of it.
It's a bit of a bummer, actually, because I actually enjoy the lunchtime lives.
No, they're good. They're brilliant, I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's leaving.
Except for that, the dude that does the sanding all the time, spends half his life sanding. He's a bit slow sometimes, but
Well, yeah.
But I still watch him.
Yeah, so do I. Yappy, Barry's
See
leaving.
you, Happy.
All right. See you later, Barry. All right.
See you,
See you
Barry.
later, Yappy. I hope you feel a lot better soon. All right. Well,
So Darren's put another question in there for you, Robbo.
yeah, that's. Oh, Darren went on. Right. The wood fast ones were the best from Woodworking Solutions. A genuine wood fast thing. Now, they had two types. They had a cheaper one and a dearer one. Now, you may be able to get in hold of Graham Dowley. If you can't remember the name, just give me a reminder later and I'll send it through to you in a message. But Graham Dowling has still got some of the older stock of Woodfast. I've had mine for over 40 years and it's still as good as the day it was made. They're a triple bearing one. They're fairly expensive. I think they're about 50 or 60 bucks, but they're excellent quality. Yeah, that's what I'm worried about, Pete. You'll go back another hour and we'll be about 4 hours ahead of you then. Oh, yeah, it's interesting they finding out about the different countries around the place. Like Eva was in Jay's thing this morning or this afternoon, and we found out what their restrictions and everything were for COVID and this and that. It was a good day, actually. Yeah, unfortunately, Darren, a lot of the Chinese ones are absolute garbage. And you can't buy, like the best ones to buy are actually engineers' centres for their metal turning lathes. But then you've got to have a machinist that can machine them into a cup centre. And this one's got a engineer's centre in it. But the problem is that the bloke that turned it up for me wore out about 10 ceramic tips trying to get it in. They had super hard steel on the cone. Another place you could try is Vicmark. Vicmark also sell a good centre. I must admit it's getting harder and harder to get reasonable quality lathe fittings in a lot of cases because there's so many Chinese imports on the market. All right. Well, I might call it a night. If that's all right with everybody. How many are still in? Just out of interest.
2 secs. Still got 25.
Oh.
I reckon the sharpening one could be a bit lively over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think so too. I think there's going to be a heap of questions. Thank you, James. I appreciate that. No worries, Pete. Don't get your snowmen mixed up with your bottle stoppers or whatever you're doing. Snowman bottle stoppers look terrible. Although you could be on a winner. Thank you, Soren. No worries, Darren. Thank you. The check's in the mail, mate. No worries, Nick. Thank you. Make sure that Stace has a good supply of cereal and milk so she doesn't have to go out all the time to get it. Thanks, Rick. Yeah, I figured that guide, that daylight saving. Yeah, that's dead right. No, actually, Dunlop don't make super balls. Thank you, Philip. How's it going up there on the Central Coast? Yeah, I must admit, Nick, I quite often have cornflakes or wheat bix at 10 or 11 o'clock at night as a snack. Well, it could be worse. They could be hoeing into something that's not good for them, I suppose. Although a lot of the cereals aren't good for you either. Oh, I see, right. No. Do you know that, Darren, I don't monetize any of my videos or anything because I can't stand ads in them when I'm watching a video. And I notice they're putting more and more ads into that are actually embedded into the actual broadcast so they can't get blocked now. And it annoys the hell out of me. So if I get annoyed, I figure everybody else does too, because you've got your train of thought and then suddenly gets interrupted by an advertisement. So
Robbo,
yeah.
do you have premium YouTube or do you just have the standard one?
Standard YouTube.
If you get the premium YouTube, you'll never see an advert ever again. Never, ever.
I've got the stand. I bought 12 months of StreamYard the other day. So
YouTube is, I think it's about $15 a month or something like that. It's worth it if you don't like the adverts, that's for sure.
Robocop's got a question. I think I know what the answer is, but I'll let you go for it.
Yeah, it hasn't come up yet.
So his question is, what's the most advanced type of turning? Is it hollow forms?
Sorry, what was that?
What is the most advanced type of turning? Is it hollow forms?
Well, I'm glad the club's open, Philip, because none of our clubs are open here at the moment, and it's getting a little bit annoying, I must admit. Give my regards to Ronnie Gibbs when you see him next. Now, advanced. Yeah, well, I've got ad blockers on on Firefox.
Darren's going into a timeout.
Yeah. Geez, everybody knows my little foibles, don't they? I don't do pens. I've never done a pen, never going to do a pen. Unless hell freezes over. Right, now, to answer your question, Rob, sorry. Hollow forms are interesting, actually. They've probably been the biggest advance in turning in the last 20 years, particularly the tooling for them. I would say it's probably the hardest form of turning to do these days, but with Yeah, I was wondering where David went to. Tammy, I'll get on to you in a minute. Um, the the tooling now, if you're prepared to pay the money, is absolutely fantastic. Like we were watching Cindy Droster the other day in a Zoom demonstration, and they've got cameras mounted on the things. Now, you just, in my opinion, if the timber's sound and everything else is working right, you cannot make a mistake when you've got gear like that set up. So it's sort of taken the irk out of work, I suppose. But yeah, hollow form. I think that any turning, provided it's done properly, is hard work to get it to be done properly. Right, need to find now, Dion. There is a good club on the Gold Coast. There's a couple of members in here at the moment from the club. It's at Mudgery Bar. I don't know whereabouts on the Gold Coast are you? Oh, that's no good, Tammy. I'm sorry to hear that. My sight's a bit of a blur too, unfortunately, and I can't get to an eye doctor to get it fixed. To have new glasses, so. Pacific Pines. Oh, look, yeah, go down to Mudgery Bar. Now, they have an excellent course for starters as turners. It is fantastically priced, and you will learn pretty well everything you need to know to turn. Now, I say that hoping that they have not changed it, because I helped set it up as a teaching aid. And there are a bunch of good blokes down there. Neil's even goes down there, so he's a nice fella. But they are really, really good on the teaching part these days. So if you really want to learn, that's the place to go to. I don't know when they're running the next class, but it's virtually one-on-one. Yeah, I hope we're there shortly, Darren. I tell you, it's like, as I say, I work by myself all day, but I really do miss going away to the wood turning things and meeting up with everybody. But well, that's the way it goes at the present time, so we can't do much about it. Dion, I think if you look on the internet, put in Gold Coast Wood Turning Club, and you'll come up with a contact number there for it. The contact for the classes is Mike. Oh, I've forgotten his surname, but it's Mike anyway, and I think they've got it on their webpage, how to sign up for it and everything. You still there, Neil? Yeah, that's the problem, trying to get the young ones to do the right thing. That's the hard part. Like 14 at a party last night. That's ridiculous. And some of them had been fined once before. They were second offenders for doing exactly the same thing. No, you don't. You love people, Amy. If you didn't love people, you wouldn't be here talking to us.
He's probably got you there, Amy.
I hope David's eyes get better shortly, Tammy, because I know what it's like not being able to see properly all the time. Oh, yeah, I don't tolerate idiots very well either. Now, it's funny you should say that, Dion. Yeah, that's my opinion too, Rick, that they shouldn't get a second option and just be like a drunk driver and end up in the can. Oh, that's interesting. How many are in, please, Sid? I just want to check something, please.
2 secs. We've got 15 in there now.
Oh, it actually comes up on the StreamYard screen. I've got it up on the top so I can actually see it. I never knew that before. Maybe I should look at the screen a bit more often.
Yeah, that's always been there, Robbo.
I don't doubt that. Duh. As my kids would say. All right, everybody sort of had enough, or do you want to keep chatting? I'm quite content to keep chatting. Yeah, that's not a bad turning exercise, actually, Rob. A gavel and a block.
Yeah, keep going. Me and Jay are on overtime now, I think, aren't we?
Yeah, okay, all right.
Time and a half.
Oh, geez, I don't know whether the budget can afford that.
See you, Darren.
All right. See you later, Darren. Yeah, I'll probably call into Steve's for a little while, but I need my beauty sleep, and I need it more and more with COVID on.
So what have we gone to there now? 10:30, and when they shift, it'll be 11:30.
Yeah. No, they start at 11 o'clock. Oh, sorry. They start at 11 o'clock here, so it's 10:30 for you, I think.
Yeah. And then you'll go, when they shift their daylight savings, you'll go to midnight and we'll go to 11:30.
Yeah. Jesus, Pat, when did you join the union?
Hey, I like Pat. Thanks, Pat. Double time. Whoa. Yeah, that's where the countdown is, Philip.
Yeah. Dead right.
Soren's leaving.
Yeah, see you later, Soren. Are you on morning shift, are you? What is the one thing, probably the biggest mistake that learners make, and I don't mean anything derogatory about that, is that they tend to use tools that don't get sharpened properly. And it is hard for a beginner to know when a tool is blunt and when it's not, and also whether it's actually sharpened correctly or not. Because you could lock 10 wood turners in a room with 20 different tools and come out with 30 different grinds on them. And they would all work for the person that's using them.
Possibly technique-wise, Robbo would be learning to ride the bevel.
That comes. No, not Wood Turners Society of Queensland. It's actually Gold Coast Wood Turners. I'll see if I can find it. Wait on.
There you go, Robbo. Ricky's put it in. Wood Turners Society of Queensland.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm answering you. It's not right.
Oh.
That's a different mob altogether.
How come everyone's yelling? What's with the capitals? Come on.
Mudgery Bar, Robbo?
Yeah, in Mudgery Bar. I've just got it up. Wait on. It just got to load itself, that's all. The bloke that's in the picture there has actually just died, unfortunately. Jack, he's a great bloke. Wicked sense of humour.
I just whacked it in the chat, Robbo.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I might have put the wrong one in there.
Yeah, that also is another challenge, Dion, is to what tool to use, because if you watch YouTube, but there's so much bad information out there, and don't get me started on it. They don't know which tool to use to do the job properly, and consequently, some of them are going to get into big trouble one day, and somebody's going to get, well, there's been a lot badly hurt over the last 2 or 3 years.
The one thing I did work out is that a blunt skew is still sharp.
Particularly if you try, no, not Vic Wood. Vic Wood was one who died last Saturday week ago. Then there's been another one in England, and John Hewitt up in Sydney, or up on the north part there. And then, of course, there's been Jack as well. So it's been a bad month for the wood turning fraternity, for those that know them anyway. Yeah, Tommy, YouTube is a minefield of bad information.
G'day, Mike.
How you going, Mike?
Yeah, John Hewitt, Rick. G'day, Mike. Yeah, I'll tell you what, there's also some lousy teachers out there just quietly. Not saying anything, Nick. Not saying anything at all.
But the saving grace for you there, Nick, is you're not actually trying to teach anyone to do. You're just showing them what you're doing. It's always good entertainment value there.
I was actually trying to work out whether it was list of that bad intros on my channel or most. Yeah. Well, I try to, in my lives, Amy, what I try to do is what most people would not normally see. If you want back to basics, you watch me trying to show Jay. Particularly the last couple of days.
I've watched them back later though, Robbo. That's been pretty interesting and informative to watch.
Yeah.
You can always pick something up out of technique, I find. It doesn't matter how basic you go, and very seldom I don't pick something up.
No, I very rarely comment on people's videos that they put up, but there have been a couple of occasions where I've just told them, look, mate, take this down. This is plain dangerous. You're going to kill somebody the way you're doing this. And in a couple of cases, they Jay, don't look at the screen, mate.
Well, I'd say he can put Nick in a timeout if he wants. He's fine.
And to their credit, they have taken them down and thought, yeah, probably they were too dangerous. And on one occasion, I actually reported a teacher to YouTube themselves, and they took it down. I was laughing about your comment, Nick. Yeah, well, when you've got to teach a bloke that the one end of the chisel should be sharp and the other one's blunt, and that you can't mix them up, you're probably right about that. Thanks for that, Darren.
Mark, the gentleman Turner, has just joined.
Yeah,
hey, Mark.
Mike, good day, Mark. The wait on, I missed the thing up here. It's probably a combination of both, Dion. It's a bit of a fallacy about, yes, you've got to have the bevel in contact. As I keep saying to everybody, bevel is king. If you get the bevel off to work, it's like 50% of Australians that goes looking for support. So you've got to get that bevel in contact the whole time. But a lot of people really push hard on the bevel, and that leads to a catch. Most of the time what causes the catch is being too tense on the tools, because you've got to relax on the tools, because you're forcing an error anyway and pushing too hard. Now, Mike, the main 3 channels I've used, Mike Peace is excellent, and Worth the Effort is really good too. I can't comment on the middle bloke. I don't know him very well.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that middle, the one in the middle, Mike. Yeah.
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 I haven't. Well, Nick, I have no problem with you turning with no shoes on, but it would not be allowed in my place for the simple reason I'm a business and occupational health and safety rules come in, of course. but there's always screws or things lying down on the floor in our place. And even with my boots on, I've had a screw go right through the boot. And it's not the pain going in so much as having to unscrew the bastard, get it back out again. So, Mark, what do you... No, I wouldn't say that, Rob CP. I don't... the bloke I really like watching, and I'm going to be a bit immodest here, but Steve Jones is probably one of the best turners on YouTube at the moment because he's a production turner, and he turns exactly... Well, we both turn the same way as what I was 20 years ago. Unfortunately, my hands aren't as quick as what they used to be, and it gets a little bit annoying sometimes. Plus, my eyes aren't as good as what they used to be either. God, I got that reputation, have I, that I like to shout at people. Like I said, none of you have ever seen me do my lolly. If you do that, if you see that, then you'll really be upset.
I think the fact is that Robbo only shouts because he's deaf and he's got it for himself.
Sorry, what was that, Sid?
I'll rest my case. I said you only shout because you're deaf and you've got to hear yourself.
Well, that's part of it. No, it's turning loca can be pretty hard, but you've never turned some of our timber. Its brother isn't steel. It's something. It's more like titanium. Yeah, well, that's the whole point, Nick. As I've always said, if you feel uncomfortable doing something, you shouldn't be doing it, because for starters, you've got that niggle in the back of your head, and a mistake always forces a mistake. I've found anyway. I've been known to throw a table leg over the garage next door where I did my lolly once. I was having a bad day. I had 3 staff members at the time, or three employees here, and no one niggling at one another and having a shot. And I just had enough. Anyway, I made a mistake. I put a bead where a cove should have been. I put a cove where a bead should have been. I can correct a bead, but I can't correct a cove. I can't add it back on. And the end door in the workshop was open. It was a beautiful day. I just went right off my cruet and threw the thing over. And now the garage is about 150 feet away from our place, and went right over the bloody roof. I had silence out of the staff for the rest of the day, though. That was good. No, he's worth watching, Rob. He really, really is. Look up Wood Turner 21 on YouTube. And Wayne is very, very good too. Because Wayne was brought up in the era that I was brought up in, where you were taught to turn properly.
Pat's leaving.
Yeah, good night, Pat. Thanks for coming in. That'll serve yourself right, Mark. Did you have to crawl across the floor and get it, did you? Then the trouble is you've got to get up off the floor then. Yeah, it would turn to 21. That's it, Rob. And I think Steve Jones would find him as well. Good night, Philip. What are you up to up there, Mark? Getting ready for earworm for Steve, are you? No, it's. I don't know if you've seen the video. It's similar to turning long, skinny things. The video I put up there. The handle is normally put on separately, Darren. Oh yeah, doing some real turning, Mark. That's good.
You're using the gouge you accidentally bought, Mark?
No, he bought a bowl
Mark
gouge. I hope he's using a spindle gouge. Yeah, I know. He went down to yard, whatever it is, in England.
Yeah, well, the gouge he showed, I thought looked like a spindle gouge, the one he accidentally bought. I could be wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, roughing gouge. Yep.
Spindle roughing gouge, right. In most cases, Dion, yes. The faster you can run the lathes and get the job done, the better. But safety factors come into that as well. Like my lathes here will do 3,000 revs. Well, the one I worked on tonight, for instance, can actually do 27,000 revs if I gear it the right way round. It's got a big reduction gear in the middle of it. But the motor can't pull those sort of revs. G'day, Ruben. Yeah.
Ruben has come in.
Now, you get a better cut if it can rotate faster. And but you can reach a stage where the timber is actually going too fast, particularly harder timbers, and the chisel just skips over the top of it instead of cutting it, just cannot get into it. So one in Australia that I can think of offhand is blackbean. It actually cuts better if you slow it down a little bit. So speed does play an important part in it. And of course, we have to be careful. As I said, our lathes are that heavy that they don't move. So they can actually explode a bit of timber. They can actually fling it apart if it's got a weakness or anything in it. Like a lot of people during lives and things ask, oh, what speed is it doing on? My usual answer is sufficient to turn it. And that's about the best answer I can give, because you'll probably noticed at the start of this, if you were in, that I said, oh, it's going a bit slow. So I had to speed it up a bit because the timber was actually tearing instead of cutting. Oh, that'll be interesting, Mike. Can I watch? Mike was going to practice using different sorts of screws. Oh, Stace is in. Either that or she's kicked Nick out, one or the other.
Well, I'm just wondering why she wants to turn a peg leg as one of Nick's legs in danger.
I liked your birds, Ruben. That was good.
Yeah, sorry, Stace. I was a bit late getting there. Otherwise, I would have done it for you.
I get into a lot of arguments about this, Dion. I reckon pine is the best thing to practice on. It's soft. If you have a catch, it's not going to do any damage to you. And if you can get a clean cut on pine, you can get a clean cut on anything. The other deciding factor is it's easy to get. It's generally a consistent quality all the time. And it's fairly cheap. You can go down to Bunnings and just buy stud material, cut around the knots, and then just rip it down the centre, and that gives you 42 by 42. And you can practice away all day on that. Costs about $10 for a 2.4, and out of that you get about 48 pieces that you can just practice down to doing nothing. Oh, that's good, Tommy. You're still studying my videos, are you? I thought you hated oak, Stace. I love oak. Turns beautifully. Good. Most important thing, you're learning anything from it, because I must admit, and I'm not trying to brag here, I went to great pains to try and explain everything, and on some of those they took me over 4 hours to make, shifting the cameras, moving around and all that sort of thing. Yeah, that's the best. Yeah, 3x3 is good stuff. Jeez, not nasty at all, Stace. Beautiful stuff.
Hey,
Yeah,
Nick, have you
gone, Sid?
you've seen Shady Acres wood turning? He'll turn nearly anything on a lathe too.
Yeah, we've actually made a lot of Christmas ornaments and things out of pine. It's just great for doing that. Yeah, I know. The white oak turns not very nicely. Yeah, well, that's the best way of doing it, Tommy. You just practice and away you go. Well. It rather intrigues me with wood turners and that. They all the wood's always better on the other side of the world, you know. And Australia has some of the best timber in the world for turning. Phil Witch, sorry.
I put the link in, Robbo. Show Phil Anderson, Shady Acres wood turning. He turns really unusual pieces of wood.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, this bloody stupid thing.
He's also very safety orientated doing it. Like he explains how he's mounting it and what he's doing and all the safety gear on all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I rescued, going back 40 odd years ago, I rescued a lot of blackwood trees. Cost me $3,000, and that's 30 odd years ago, to get a truck with a crane in them to get them out of there, because they were widening out a road, and it was blackwood trees. And anyway, I bought the whole lot of them, and it was all fiddleback. It was just absolutely phenomenal timber. And they were just going to burn. They were going to burn it all. What are you screwing around with there, Sid?
Oh, I'm rocking back with the forwards on my chair.
Oh, you got another squeaky chair like Blair.
Yeah, I can't afford a good one for my shed.
Oh, I've got an ordinary old kitchen chair out in the shed.
Actually, some nights I get better internet in the shed than what I do in the house.
That was very polite of you, Stace.
It was. You can tell she's brung up proper.
Yeah, I know. It's admittedly, we had a 60, 70 foot manna gum chopped down. Yeah, well, you're very true there, Nick. Anyway, everybody said, "Oh man, you got plenty of turning wood there." And no, it all went next door to go in his fire, because manna just splits like nothing on earth. It was absolute garbage in a lot of ways. Besides which, I don't turn bowls very often. Only at demonstrations. Well, Stace, like I always say, you're a lady until you prove otherwise, as far as I'm concerned.
There's proper and there's proper too. I've got a bit of an issue at the moment, Robbo. The she oak blanks that I cut up and stacked in the shed, in my little shed next to my big shed. I'm pretty sure there's a big. No, I'm pretty sure there's a big tiger snake living in there.
Sorry?
I'm pretty sure there's a big tiger snake living in amongst it.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Saw him sneak in there this afternoon.
Yeah, what time on Tuesday, Mark? Your time.
He's doing the lunchtime one on Tuesday, Robbo.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, yeah. All right. I'll stay up for that one. As long as I don't get yelled at by Wayne and everybody. All you do, Rob, is... Right, wait on. Just hold on a second. I'll see if I can find something for you.
I think her pay rates have gone up, Mark. She's joined the union over here, so it might cost you a bit more this time.
Yeah, I think Amy's still in. I don't think she said goodbye yet, has she? Yeah, all right then, Mark. No worries. Right, Rob. What you do is get your Allen key. Now, for captive rings, all you've really got to do is sharpen the inside down here. Make sure you put a decent handle on it, though. And it may need a bit of a relief cut on the back here. But it needs to come down to a little point right on the end. It needs to come down to a flat chisel thing on here. Or you can grind this back to the centre line here, but you have to make it a fairly good angle, and then sharpen this one in here at about 45 degrees, and that'll give you your little hook. Or you can just get a normal, even a normal chisel, and put an end on it. No, it's in the cabinet, and I can't get at it at the moment. I think. Wait on. What's this one? No.
That sounds like a good deal, Mark. Amy's still here.
Yeah, I'll say that. You have to know which lathe it is, Mike, to make sure it fits. That is the wood turner's lament, Mark, that nobody wants to buy their stuff. Not for the price that it costs to make anyway. That's actually why I switched across to being an architectural turner. Sorry, what was that in reference to, Mike? I'm sorry.
The lathe bed, I reckon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, they're all slightly, a lot of them are slightly different. I know they all look the same, but some of them can be a bit different at times. You got to be a bit careful of it.
See you, Stace.
Yeah, see you later, Stace. So always check that the actual bed that it does fit. Yeah, Van Gogh probably said the same thing about his artwork. Nobody's buying it now. You couldn't buy one for, unless you're a millionaire. Yeah, I bet it has, Darren. It's a good idea, actually. I had a good deal going when I was in Sale. We had a good backyard behind the shop, and all the timber loppers and everybody used to just drop timber in. I took everything, even the small branches, because sometimes some really interesting stuff turned up. And if I'd knocked back the crap, which I was quite capable of getting rid of anyway, I wouldn't have got it. So I always take everything that everybody gives me. The other other one I had was the bloke on our local shire that said yes or no to what roads being widened out. And I used to get all the timber from the council, because if they've got to mulch it, it costs them money. And these days, if they've got to dump it, it really costs them money. You weren't dead long enough, Mark. That's the problem. Yes, I know exactly what you mean, Mike. I've got a bed extension on my demonstration lathe for the same reasons, because it's 10 mil too short for coffee table legs, even with the smallest drives and centres I can fit in it.
See you, Dion.
Neil's going, is he? Oh, Dion, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'll catch you later, Dion. Let me know how you get on with the Gold Coast wood turners. I'd be interested. Yeah, that's dead right, Rick. If you knock stuff back. Yeah, all right. See you later, Amy. I might call in for a few minutes. I don't know how long I'll be there for.
See you, Amy.
Jeez, I tell you what, it's sudden. I reckon the temperature's dropped about 5 degrees in the workshop in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's about the same here.
The biggest problem, Darren, is that they've got to transport them to the mills for starters, and portables, dare I say it, a lot of portable sawmillers are so expensive that it is just not worth anybody's while to do it. So it is cheaper for the council or the road clearers and that just to mulch the whole lot.
See you, Nick.
See you later, Nick. Yeah, get to work.
See you later, Nick.
Yeah, they've got some nice exotic trees up there, what we call exotics anyway, elms and stuff like that.
They just cut a big row of elms down at Mount Gambier, Robbo, out at the racecourse.
That'd be right. I bet they all ended up in the chipper
elms.
too. I bet they ended up in the chipper.
Don't know, actually. They were taking cuttings off to try and regrow them and replant them. But they had a few limbs fall and arborists come in. A couple of them were rotten right up through the trunks.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Dutch elm disease gets into a lot of them. That's why most of them are disappearing in Australia, and I think overseas as well.
Yeah.
But no, it's. But I can understand it. Like, I've had people ring me up here and say, "Oh, look, I'm having a tree dropped. Are you interested in the timber?" And I say, "No, look, I'm sorry, I don't have the means or the capabilities of picking it up," which I don't. But if you contact the wood turning clubs, they might be interested. And most of the wood turning clubs just say, no. They're just too lazy to get out of their own way.
Yeah, I've picked up a heap of wood, and I might not get much of it processed to turn, but I've got a shed full now. I've still got a heap out, and it was just an arborist taking a couple of trees down on a block. There's a bit of she oak out there, nearly 1.2 metres across the trunk.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a part of economics these days. Yeah, and plus Warrigal wood turners also. I think you're talking about Warrigal down the road from me, are you, Rick? Warrigal wood turners also normally take a heap as well, because they've got their own mill as well. Oh, not the big strip.
Oh, look out.
Yeah, that's the other thing, Tommy. And in some respects, I don't mind them doing that. Like, at least it gets repurposed for something useful instead of just ending up in mulch on the ground. That is, Mike, that's very true. I'm often disappointed in my sculptor turning videos, Rob. They make some lovely pieces that are let down by bad compound angle glue up, so I reckon it makes all the difference. It's the same. I used to judge our annual wood turning thing over here, and if they'd just spend another 10 minutes just finishing it properly, they'd have been on a winner. But they just don't seem to take the time to do that last little bit to bring it right up to a gallery type standard or an art show type standard. Yeah, well, that'd be handy there, Darren, having a neighbour who's an arborist. All right, folks, I'm going to pull the pin now. It's been fantastic chatting to everybody. And I think that's what makes the live so good in a lot of ways, is that we can solve the problems of the world, even if the politicians don't listen.
Yeah.
So
you're right there,
I shall say good night, and I'll push the button in a minute after everybody said hooroo to everybody.
Right, see you all. Thanks to everyone for coming in.
And I'll
And
catch
I'll
you
probably-
on. I'll catch you on Tuesday, Mark.
And might see a few of you in Steve's in a little while.
Oh yeah, I'll be there for a little while anyway. I'm about to go and put the kettle on again for a cup of tea. So
So the last one of Nick's I was watching, I think I went to sleep and I woke up and it was all finished. I'd had a big day though. No reflection on Nick.
That's the thing, Rick. That you get very critical after a little while of watching it, looking at other turners' work. And anyway, all right. Good night, all. See you later. Bye-bye. Thank you for coming in. I've appreciated it. Sorry it was so short in the turning part, but anyway. All right. Catch you. Bye.